Hello dear students, I am Dr. Garima Srivastava from Lal Bahadur Shastri College, Lucknow. Here in this slide we are going to study about convergence and divergence in personal management. Now when we are talking about personal management, it is related to the human resource management of the organization. Now talking about convergence, we need to understand what convergence is. Convergence theory in HRM can be referred to as the universalist approach, which is founded on belief that certain practices can yield excellent fruits. Now when we are talking about convergence, it means converging into one. That means trying to apply a single function, a single process in across the organization, which may or may not be fruitful. Now when we are talking about convergence, it says that it is a universalist approach. That means any process which is there in the home country, in the parent company, over there, if this process is applied across the organization in different countries, in different subsidiaries, this kind of approach is called as universalist approach. But it is not so, it does not always happens. Why? Because when we talk about different host country, when we talk about the different subsidiary companies, over there we are talking about people from various nations that are hired in the subsidiaries, and we are talking about various processes which are always working in the influence of various external factors of the business. So when we are in the host country, the processes are always influenced by the external factors. So same processes are always made flexible, implemented with certain kind of changes in the host country. Here convergence is talking about a universalist approach, which says that a single process has to run, that means the best practices in the organization has to run across the organization in all the subsidiaries of the organization in different countries. Now convergence is a tendency of group members to become more alike over time. In this business, this is sometimes called a company culture, in the sense that people work together tend to have similar characteristics, behaviors and philosophies. Now convergence is more based on a ideology that it is dependent on the culture, because the people who work together for a longer period of time, they become more and more compatible with each other, because they exhibit similar kind of characteristics, behaviors and philosophies, because they are working together for a very long period of time. Convergence theory focuses on establishing best practices applicable across the border. Now when we talk about convergence theory, it means the best practices are adopted and these practices are applied across the borders in different subsidiaries of the organization, so that a single or standard uniform practice is applied within the organization. Convergence approach suggests that the management aspects become more alike globally. So when we are talking about globalization of business, when we are talking about expansion of business in more than one country, when we are talking about expansion in the host country, over there the business becomes more alike. Because it becomes alike because of different factors that come into play. So when we are talking about the subsidiary organization, people from different countries like host country, third nation country, they come and join the organization for various tasks. Then different external factors such as political factors, social cultural factors, technological factors, they also come and take part. So over there it becomes important to see that whether the same processes or same best practices which were there in home country will be applicable in same way in the host country or not. So globalization and its effect and its various factors need to be studied when if we are going to apply convergence in the personal management. Globalization with its main economic and technological drivers enhance convergence amongst models of the organization and management practices as countries demonstrate similar framework of economic growth and political stability. So when we talk about convergence, it will only work for the countries which have similar framework of economic growth and political political stability. So, when we are talking about convergence, when we are talking about similar best practices to be applied in the subsidiary countries, subsidiaries in different countries. So, over there we need to check that the factors from the external environment like economic factor and the political factor needs to be the same of these two countries, so that they do not influence the practices of the organization. So, for example, we can say if the economic growth pattern of two countries are the same, so the remuneration or the compensation package may remain standard, may remain uniform in these two countries, whether talking about the host country or talking about the home country. Similarly, if we talk about the political stability, the different rules, regulations or policies, acts that are implemented by the political parties, they remain standard, they remain same for these two countries. So, if the rules remain same, so rules regarding labor laws or remuneration package of the labor laws, labors, then again health and safety welfare issues of the labor, they remain same in both the country. So, there is no need to bring about changes in whether operating in home country or operating in the host country. But if the factors of external environment change, like if economic factors change, technological advances come and upgradation of technology comes, political instability is there, a state of war is there, or demands of customers are changing, the pocket size of customers are changing. So, over there the same kind of pattern, same kind of remuneration package or compensation package cannot be applied in the host country also. Now, over there you have to look into the factors of the host country and design a package according to the cost of living, the various processes in the host country. Then divergence generally means two things are moving apart, while convergence applies that two forces are moving together. Now, over here this is a basic difference between divergence and convergence. When we talk about convergence, it means two forces are going to move together. Like now that means if hiring process of home country is moving, it will move in the similar manner, in the same standard framework in the subsidiary country also. If we are talking about convergence, it will move in a different manner, it will convert itself in a different manner, it will make flexible changes in itself if it is moving in the host country. This means divergence. That means you are moving in two different directions, taking into consideration different factors which are affecting that particular process. So, in the world of economics, finance and trading, divergence and convergence are the terms used to describe directional relationship of two trends. Now, when we are talking about convergence and divergence, we are always talking about two trends which are in two opposite directions. Now, convergence means meeting at one single point, they are going to come together. Divergence means they are going to diversify, they are going to move more apart, and they are going to take into consideration various factors which are there between these two trends. Coming on to divergence in personnel management, divergence in HRM compares systems of one country with that of the other country and then identifies similarities and differences and then forms the antecedents from those differences. Now, when we are talking about differences, that means we are talking about divergence, we are talking about various factors which are pulling these two trends apart, and the factors are also different from one country to the another. So, if the factors of HRM, if the factors of various production are different from one country to the another or different from the home country to the host country, over there comes a need to analyze those similarities and differences, and then these differences are taken up as antecedents of divergence. So, now when you further deeply analyze the differences between the two countries, the factors of differences between the two countries, you will be better able to implement the various processes of the organization, because you will be implementing them in the light of these differences, and you will be definitely bringing about certain changes while implementing the similar processes of the home country. Now, divergence theory argues that the social cultural influences are typically the prevailing forces that lead societal members to adapt specific values irrespective of their external diversity. So here as we talked about economic and political stability in respect of convergence, in divergence socio-cultural influences are important. So if we see that socio-cultural influences are more stable, the people are more stable towards external drivers. They are not moved away as and when the demand comes or price falls or quality decreases or economic instability comes. So if they are not at all if they are not at all influenced by these particular factors, the divergence theory can be applied. Otherwise, what will happen? You have to go in with convergence theory. So, divergence theory will take into account all kinds of likes, dislikes, demands, then preferences of the customers which are continuously changing in the society of the different host country. The divergence theory focuses on establishing management system that conform to specific circumstances of each country. Now, over here when we talk about divergence, both the countries are studied in the light of various factors that affect each and every process of the organization. So, when studying these factors, the difference of the factors are always there, and in the light of the difference of these factors, the processes, the systems are applied with a flexible view that they need to be efficient, they need to be productive for the organization. Now, moving ahead, factors which are there which affect convergence and divergence. Now, of course, when we talk about convergence, that means moving together, or we talk about divergence, moving apart, we have to look into fact that there are certain factors which are common in convergence as well as divergence. The extent to which there are well defined local norms, the very first factor. Now, when we talk about local norms, the norms that are derived from the society, that are derived from the people who form the society, the people who are from various religions, various cultures, values and beliefs. So, they put up certain local norms on the organization so as to adapt convergence or divergence. So, if people are flexible enough, they have certain pocket size, their preferences do not change, the organization can certainly go in for convergence. But if people have certain dislikes, have various likes, have different outlooks for different products, then the organization has to adapt a divergence theory. So, well defined local norms of that society where you are going to cater your product is an important factor. Second, the degree to which an operating unit is embedded in the local environment. Now, the operating unit means the manufacturing unit. As far as you are putting up your manufacturing unit in the local environment, the extent to that degree, the extent to that particular form is responsible for the local environment. So, now suppose you are not putting up any kind of manufacturing unit in the host country, you are just importing your product from the home country to the host country. So, over there the local environment will not make much of an impact on your product. But if you are suppose setting up a manufacturing unit or a plant in the host country, over there the local environment will definitely play a role, because you will need to hire people, you will need to hire blue collared workers, semi skilled workers who will be working in these plants in the manufacturing of the product. So, you have to see that how far the operating unit, the degree to which the operating unit is there in the host country. Thirdly, the strength of flow of resources. Now, when we are talking about resources, that means man, money, material and machine. All these resources, how far they are easily available in the host country, and or you have to arrange them from the home country or any of the third nation country. So, if these resources are easily available, the finance, the information, the people are easily available between the parent and the subsidiary company. So, over there convergence is easy, because you have people, you have resources, you have information, you have technology, you can apply them standardly from your parent company to the subsidiary company. But suppose you are not having flow of resources, you are having some of the resources, but some of the resources you need to get them from the external environment in the host country. Over there, when you are dependent on the external environment for procurement of your certain of the resources, over there you need to diverge. Why? Because you will be taking those factors, you will be taking those resources only in the light of various other factors which are there in the external environment. Orientation of the parent to control. Now, over here orientation of the parent company to control. Now, how far you are designing your organization structure in such a way that the controls are centralized to the parent company. Most of the MNCs, what they do when they expand in international human resource management, the type of organization structure that is taken, the control or the centralization of power is mostly vested in the home country, and they do it through by sending the expats from the home country and placing them at the top management and the middle management in the organization structure in the subsidiary company. So, over there also they are having people who are well versed with the home country culture and who belong to the home country itself. So, the span of control, if it is more vested and it is more centralized in the home country, then convergence can be taken. But if the span of control is relaxed, if it is given, if it is more delegated to the host country nation people or the third country nation people, over there divergence need to be taken care of, because people again come from various cultures, they have various skill sets, they come from various educational background. Next one, the nature of the industry, the extent to which the primarily are domestic industry at local level. Now, what is the nature of your industry? Now, that means are you operating at a local level, or are you operating from the home country itself? So, the nature of your work, the nature of your productivity, the nature of your activity will depend that you are going to converge in personal management processes, or you are going to diverge in personal management processes. Lastly, a specific organizational competencies including HRM that are crucial for achieving competitive advantage in the global environment. Now, there are certain human resource practices which need to be taken care of when we talk about convergence as well as divergence to bring about competitive edge, bring about competitive advantage of an organization over the other organizations that are existing, and bringing about more and more advantageous factors for the organization, and capitalizing on these factors will help the organization to take up convergence or divergence in the organization. Now, when we talk about convergence or divergence, certain policies are important. Now, whether we are going to come together as forces or we are going to move apart in different processes in respect to the home country, the policies play a very important role. So, various policies which are related to human resource management are important. Now, when we talk about various policies, these policies help to implement convergence or divergence in personal management. So, very first one is global HR policies. Global human resource policies can help cement the key values of business, promoting and protecting the organization's culture by clearly articulating that organization's ethics and presenting a clear message to all employees as what behaviors are acceptable. Now, when we are trying to apply global human resource policies across the home country as well as the host country or the third country, wherever the subsidiaries are established, over there the human resource is trying to put up a kind of values which is standard, which is uniform throughout when we are talking about home country, host country or the third nation country. So, global human resource policies will always aim towards presentation of behavior of the people which are most acceptable in the organization. It will also make people aware, it will give them a very clear message that what kinds of behaviors are acceptable and what kinds of behavior are not acceptable at all. Now, when we are talking about global human resource policies, they are related to the following points. At will employment. Now, at will employment means you are free to leave the organization just by giving certain kind of notices which are predefined by the organization. So, if organization says that you have to give a 1 month notice before leaving the organization, it is just that if you give this 1 month notice, you will be relieved from your job in 1 month. So, this is a clear human resource policy for exiting the organization. Similarly, we can have anti-harassment and non-discrimination policies which says harassment at workplace, discrimination on the basis of caste, sex, gender is all prohibited at the workplace. All these have to be written in certain policies in the organization so as to reduce them at the organizational level itself, and by reducing these kind of particular anti-organizational aspects, the more and more conducive environment can be prevailed in the organization. Then employment classification, when you divide the different employment in the organization, then policies related to your leave and time of benefits and meal and break periods, timekeeping and pay, safety and health, employee conduct, attendance and punctuality. These are the certain HR policies which are almost applied standardly, uniformly from home country to the host country. So, taking up effective HR policies across home country to the host country and up till the third nation country, you will be able to manage people at a very easy manner, and this is called as convergence of various global human resource policies. Then while managing expatriates, when we are talking about convergence and divergence, managing of expatriates becomes important in respect of international human resource management. So, an expatriate is an employee who is sent by his or her employer to work in the foreign country. Now, when we are talking about expatriates, certain other rules come into play, other factors come into play, because this expat is going to work in the external environment, is going to work in an host country. So, over there he will be facing certain culture, certain different culture which he needs to cope up. So, over there different kinds of training, different kinds of pre-departure training, preparation, his counseling, his landing, then his housing, his living over there, different kind of amenities that will be provided to him over there will be involved, because he is moving from his own home country to the host country. So, over here convergence will not work. Here you have to look into the fact of divergence, because the person is going to face certain factors of the external environment which are different in the host country. It includes compensation, which is incentives to work abroad, hardships and locations, housing and utilities, which are different in host country as compared to the home country. It is also related to career development path. When we are trying to talk about managing expatriates, career development is also important, because just by sending him on an international assignment does not do the job. So, organization has to further look into the fact that what will be the career path he will be offered if he once returns back to the home country, or if he remains in the host country, what can be his further growth path in the organization. Then ongoing support from the organization for the families, and continuous improvement in his skills and the work sets. Then comes recruitment and selection policy. This is also one of such policy which involves convergence and divergence, and over here this policy is important because Hiring of people in the host country involves people from third nation, host nation, and the host country and the home country. So, when the people are involved from the three types of countries, recruitment and selection policy needs to be very clear and transparent among the people. So, that there should not be a feeling of that unfair treatment has been done, or some kind of unfair selection of people has been done for the international assignment. So, this policy provides a decisional framework for the managers to successfully attract, select, appoint the best applicants for the position. So, recruitment, selection and appointment process must be very fair, it should be consistent, it should be uniform, standard right from the home country itself. The objectives of recruitment and selection should be very clear, why you are, the purpose for which this recruitment or selection is being done, it should be very clear, and it should be transparent, and it should be communicated to all the people who are involved in recruitment selection process as well as who are being recruited for the organization. So, it always enshrines, it always vests on the principle of equal employment opportunity, that is EEO in the organization. So, that is why it becomes an important pillar of you can say convergence or divergence strategy for the personnel management. So, whether you take convergence or whether you take divergence in relation to recruitment and selection, it becomes important that whatever is the framework, whatever is the basic part of recruitment and selection, the communication of those particular aspects are very clearly and fairly done to the people who are related to recruitment selection process as well as who are being recruited or selected for a particular process. Then comes role clarity for overseas assignment. Now, for convergence or divergence to be taken up for personnel management, role clarity also becomes important. Role clarity means a degree to which employee has a clear understanding of his tasks, responsibilities and processes at work. Now, while a recruitment and selection policy has to be set up, the information regarding recruitment selection policy should be communicated to the people. Similarly, once they are selected, their role has to be made very clear to the people who are being selected. So, once they are placed on a particular designation, their responsibilities, duties need to be listed to them and to be told to them in a very clear manner, so that they are able to perform in a better manner as compared to the people who are not clear with the roles they have to perform in the organization. This clarity is not limited to their own role itself. It also includes the colleague's role. The clarity is essential precursor of productivity and a lack therefore causes stress and communication. So, if there is no clarity of role, it will definitely cause stress and confusion amongst the people in the organization. Career management policy, it describes the types of career moves available for the employees. So, of course, once the person is moving out for international assignment, if he is an expat, the career management policy needs to be very clear. The organization needs to set up a career path, a succession path for the person, and it should be clearly communicated to the expats, so that he is clear in his mind, he does not has any kind of confusion that once the assignment is complete, what will be the next step. So, it should at least focus that after the assignment is completed, either he has to return back to the home country with promotion, some kind of incentives, or he has to remain there for further growth in the internal assignment. Last is the re-entry policy for the expatriate. Expatriation process is also including repatriation, which is an activity of bringing the expatriates back to the home country. So, re-entry of these expatriates will also include certain policies which should be clear, that once the person returns back, what will be his value, what will be his position in the organization, so that his skills are not wasted and he may further assist the organization in the processes. Thank you.